Cool. Cool, cool, cool. So for our first question, and this is to everyone, all our questions is to everyone. It's up to you whether you want to answer it or not, or answer first, is what was your family's response when you first started dating? Also, what was also their response if you were dating someone outside of your ethnic community?
So I want to go first. Excuse me. Actually, the first time I started dating is with my current relationship right now. And so I started dating, during college, almost at the end of college. So by then, I had already a level of like freedom and independence. But because it was my first time dating, and the first time my family saw me date, they were pretty supportive. But prior to that, though, like being in high school and younger, they didn't want me to date. So so I think my experience would have been different if I did date in high school, but I didn't. I dated when I was already in college, so they were pretty supportive. And I'm Filipina, and my boyfriend is Chinese. So that I think they were excited about the food because he once cooked for us when we were just courting. You guys know what that term is, courting, like ligawan.
You could say flirting.
In like zillennial term, it's like talking stage. um and so he cooked for us once and my family loved it, so they were just really excited that he was going to cook some more. So that was their reaction to me dating someone that was Chinese. They were like, oh my god, yes, Chinese food. So yeah.
Francis, so to probe a little bit, just curious, and the reason why you were intentional about asking what your parents' reaction was, your choice of not dating in high school, was that more of a family expectation that you were following, as opposed to because you weren't interested in boys at the time and all of that? So just curious.
Yeah, it was a family expectation because my parents are very strict and they're very protective, even overprotective. So, and I had crushes and I had guys that I liked who even liked me back in high school, but I didn't date them. And I think I was so scared of my parents that I didn't even date them behind their backs. um, just because I was so scared of getting found out, because I've had other friends who dated behind their parents' backs and they had the consequences, and I was like, I don't want to deal with consequences. So I didn't date. Yeah. I did I knew that there were like guys I was interested in that was also interested in me, and um obviously we knew about that, and then we would go so much as to flirt, but I didn't like actively date behind my parents' back. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
What about everyone else? What was your dating story?
For me, it was pretty similar to Francis, where I was not allowed to date until college. Although I was really rebellious, so I was the one that did like date outside without like my parents knowing. But then, of course, they found out, and then I mean, it just got really tight in terms of boundaries in my house, where it's like I had none. I couldn't have any boundaries. It was like, no, you have to keep your door open. We need to know who's calling you. Like, who are you on the phone with? So it got really, really tight that way. But I think that it was also necessary for me to kind of start the process of like, who am I as a person, to find out like my own identity in terms of like, who am I going to be outside when I do leave for college and when I am not under like my parents' support. But it felt really tough, like at the beginning, to go through that transition, but I think that it was really what helped me to become who the person, or like who I am now, in terms of like who I want to be around, the people that I have surrounding me, as well as, you know, I am still really close with my parents. So I think that they knew that between me and my brother, I was the rebellious one, because my brother was always like, no, you got to follow all the rules. And I was like, nope, got to go the opposite way. I had to do everything opposite. But I still do have like that close relationship with my family. And, you know, I think that if I would do it again, I would probably still do it again. I think that I still got a lot of good lessons for myself in terms of how I show up for myself, and how I'm able to do some of the things and advocate for myself now.
Yeah, thanks, Michelle. So kind of similar experience. Unlike you, I guess maybe going into mental health, we are the rebellious one. But curious in terms of, in both kind of wearing your hat as a Filipina and then as a therapist, any thoughts on why you think Filipino parents are so strict about dating, and what, kind of, because I don't think they ever really explain why they think it's not a good idea, other than they want you to focus on your studies and they think it's a distraction. But I don't know anything else beside that what your thoughts are in terms of why our parents didn't want us to date in high school.
What I've come to find with like a lot of my clients too is it's this idea that parents are they have a difficult time with releasing control and allowing a person to learn how to make decisions. So instead of letting a child make a mistake and learn from the mistake, it's like, let's prevent that from happening. So I'll have a lot of clients that are like, well, now I'm an adult and now I don't know what to do. Now I don't know how to make these decisions for myself. And so I think that can be the challenge. I think that, like for me especially, I think my parents did everything that they could. Like I don't think that I wouldn't change anything that they did. I say that now, like having gone through this, right? But I think that they were just doing the best that they could at the time. And so I think that they took care of me physically, but the emotional pieces were lacking, because I don't think that was necessarily anything that they were told that they should be on the lookout for as well. So my emotional development, I had to take care of. And so, all this to say that, I think that if there was a little bit of a release and a little bit of let them make some decisions, and it doesn't have to be like, oh, let's let them date whoever they want to date, but maybe it's more so an open discussion rather than no, this isn't going to happen. I think that could be helpful.
Right. Thank you.
I feel the exact same way. Like I didn't feel, it's really weird. Like dating felt so rebellious once I got my freedom with going to college. What about you, Larry and Ellen? What's the dating story? And you don't have to say it's your dating story.
Hi, everyone. So, this is a little bit of a interesting subject for me. I think it wasn't so much on the like dating someone out of my ethnic group. I think it's more so on or the best way my parents would would describe it. In a sense, they were supportive, but at the same time, because as their daughter, they're more focused on protecting me, as opposed to my brother. I honestly remember there was a conversation one time I had with my dad where he was saying, you know, um, with your brother, we're not so worried about him. We think he'll be fine dating anyone, but with you as our daughter, we want to be protective of you, and I guess in terms of like courting and all that, and then even within the relationship itself, like we don't want anything bad to happen to you, and so I feel like for me, that's as strict as I would say with my parents. I don't know if we can all agree that this is like really common within Filipino culture, where the parents are more protective of their daughters over their sons when it comes to relationships.
You got some agrees in the chat.
I think it's probably typical. Yeah.
about you, Larry? How's dating on your end?
Dating has been fun. It's all about that honeymoon phase, you know, and then afterwards the core values and emotional boundaries and all the good stuff comes in, you know. Love transforms into commitment, you know. Uh I think I think I think for me dating initially, if I had to look back at my past, has been not very founded, you know. Naturally, a lot of us are young, a lot of us don't know what even core values are. None of us even think about it. But you know, when I met Ellen, you know, it was a different mindset. It was more like, you know what, um, I understood myself, you know, and I think a lot of it actually was because of therapy, you know, a lot of it was because of past experiences and uh, dealing with all of that and having to look into myself and understand, okay, who is Larry? That's a question that everyone should be asking because in this world, we tend to forget our values and who we are, you know, and there's a whole spiel about that, but this is about healthy relationships, right? So moving forward, I told myself that before I ended up, you know, getting to know Ellen, I had to make sure I was okay. But the other interesting thing is I had to make sure she was okay too because I think when it comes to relationship, it's always about 100% and 100%. You know, you don't want to walk into with somebody that has red flags. You know, you want to make sure you can be able to talk to this person. This person is cooperative. You know, and you know,
Yes, sir.
respectful is the key. The key. You know, if I have to choose between love and respect, I choose respect. You know, because respect goes a long way.
Well, Larry, you kind of summarized why the topic of this discussion is healthy relationship, healthy you, because I think that not having a healthy you going into a relationship will be hard to create a healthy relationship. Atimila, we haven't heard from you, and I don't know how comfortable you are sharing your experience dating outside your own ethnic group. Let's put
I
your
think
mic on.
Amelia, you're muted again.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
I think I would be really an exception to all of the norms because I was 38 when I got married. I was 41 when I had my one and only child. And dating for me was again out of the norm because I was like Michelle, the rebellious one. I ran away from home right after high school because I was being serenaded by neighbors, you know, and Harana. And getting married or dating was farthest from my mind. I wanted to go to school, to college, so I ran away under. Really, my life story is very, very unorthodox in many ways because I ran from my father to the next town and everybody knows our family. So I was brought back to the house. But I said, okay, I'm not going to date. So I really did not date until I was about 26. Right about that time. Even then, I wasn't interested in getting married. So I came to the United States and I was 38. I met my husband through a mutual friend. He's African American and we were married for 23 years. I had no parents anymore. I was an orphan, so there were no in-laws to deal with. So I was just as you'd say, free as a bird. But I had old-time values, which is once you get married, everything is for your husband, your family. So I gave up all my freedoms, including taking care of our children, of our daughter. I was working. I think I was working in 3 hospitals at the time. I was always working, and so my husband retired early and took care of our child. Now she started when she was in high school, and she was a very friendly person. We would like her to make friends, but she was only in high school. My husband was very, very strict. So that is one thing common among our Filipino parents. We don't want our children to get involved with in romantic relationships early on. But my daughter was only in sophomore high school, so I did not worry too much. Well, so I do not have, but I would have been the very liberal parent to allow my child, my daughter, to date whomever she wanted. And after I got divorced and she started dating someone from Brazil, it's older, dark-skinned guy, I did not interfere. And I had a grandson after right soon after that. But I would say that if I had the choice and looked after and had that experience of my child dating, I would welcome the opportunity to be involved in what they like to do, where they want to go, but most of all, what do they really want to be in the future so that they can lay down their plans even right at the beginning and learn to know each other, whether they are a good fit for each other. But I am not averse to the idea of, having fun. They go out together and meet other uh, people. But once they found someone they like and really have fun time with, that they should stick to one. My mother always told me, never try to row your boat in two rivers, which is in Tagalog, huwag kang mamangka sa dalawang ilog. And he was very, very adamant about not seeing other people if you're already showing preference to someone else. So I guess that's one thing that I would contribute to this discussion about dating, that it depends on what your expectations in life are and what are the values you really care for. So any any questions? Maybe I'm going too far.
Yeah, thank you, Ate Mila. I think we have someone from our audience who want to add to this discussion. So Ian, do you want to unmute yourself and add to the discussion?
Oh, Ian, you're muted.
Yeah, go ahead and turn on your mic. Yeah.
Yes. Do I turn off my camera or just
No, that's good.
whatever?
You're good. Yeah.
Okay. For me, I have a difficult story. It's kind of sad, but anywho, I will start that I live with my mother. I live with my mother. Um, and how should I say this? I take care of the family and things of that matter, and I'm gay. I'm gay. I'm not always proud of that. Um it was very difficult for me. I was bullied, I was teased, I was called a suicidal kid, I was called many things. It was very difficult. I was very bullied in high school. I went to Martin Luther King High School. I was the inaugural graduating class in class of 2002. I had high hopes and dreams for my life. I haven't really achieved them quite yet. I wanted to go to USC really badly because I was a trumpet player in our marching band, which was the Majestic Choir at the time. Now it's the Kingsmen, which I'm not too happy about because how it's established. But oh, thank you so much, Stephanie. I'm not gonna cry. Not gonna cry. And I don't mind the recording part because my story is quite. I have a voice, as it was once said in the King's speech. Everyone does. Everyone does have a voice, and I don't feel like I'm very valued too much because of that. Because I've been involved in a lot activities in high school and clubs and in college, RCC Riverside City College. I did a lot of activities such as piano club, gay straight alliance, now is the gender sexuality awareness club, and then I did like I tried to do many theater classes, and I was too involved in making others happy than myself, which was really unfortunate. I didn't graduate, even though I walked. I walked in 2007 in college, but it's 2021. I auditioned for America's Got Talent on in January, and it wasn't the best audition, but I might get one last chance. It's via Zoom, and oh, it's unstable. So I'm a tap dancer too. So I love to tap dance, and I love to do karaoke. I'm like a shebang of all these type of activities. I do not know where it came from, other than my father is a folk dancer and a Catholic, and my mother is a Jehovah's Witness believer and is a piano teacher. And oh my gosh, you do not. What?
Ian, so I am so impressed with everything that you've just shared. I mean, just takes a lot of courage to
Yes,
share.
it does.
And really, as much as, and you have all these skills and talents, that I think that, kind of what Larry was sharing earlier with having a healthy relationship with yourself, starting with that. And I think that it sounds like you're on that journey of really finding your authentic self and your voice, like you said. And so appreciate you sharing that. And I think that be happy to chat with you afterwards to kind of take a look at what other resources that you might need, and we can touch base in that way. So thank you so much, Ian.
Thank you. Salamat po.
Nico, I know we have a lot of questions prepared, but it doesn't look like we'll come up with other things. So go ahead, Nico.
Oh, okay. So for the sake of time, this is going to be probably our last last question for today. But we also have a community Q&A, so that's where we will get into like asking different other questions, asking more questions if we need to, and also sharing our stories on top of that. And also just for like just a little another housekeeping thing, I never got to mention this earlier, but we also, if you want to stay on the call longer just to talk to us like in a more private setting, you're welcome to do so as well. We'll be staying on the call as long as you would like to talk to us. So my question to everybody is, what are some tips or advice on how you on grieving for a loss of a loved one or a failed relationship / breakup?
I'll go. Some tips would be definitely don't rebound. I mean, this is up to everyone's opinion, but I personally did not do that, and I took time. Because you have to unpack. You have to understand what were the flaws because in a failed relationship, it's easy to blame the other person in this whirlwind of emotions and anxiety, right? But the thing is that why a relationship failed happened because of both parties, not because of just one. Unless one person was physically abusive and like physically harming, right? Then that's a different issue. But if we're talking about two people who were of a certain mindset, not hurting each other physically, then it's really based on these emotions and not understanding those emotions, not respecting these core values and so on. So my only tip I would say is unpack a relationship. Unpack it so well. And if it's difficult to unpack, seek seek a marriage and family therapist, a couples therapist, because sometimes when you're in that fog, you can't see. So it's always important to talk to someone else who can help you see through it.
Do you want to hear some thoughts from our licensed marriage and family therapist about this?
Yeah, I'd actually love to add to everything that Larry was saying. I think that it's really important that initially after a breakup specifically, if a person tries to run away from their feelings, they're not honoring their feelings, they're not going to learn from them, right? So if you spend time with the feeling is meant to give you insight. So insight about yourself, about your world, about your family, about relationships. And if you're not getting the time or giving yourself the time to see what that message is or to see what that insight is, then yes, we can definitely fall into different patterns. Because even if we bring this like all the way back to childhood, right? So it's like we're born with different attachment patterns from what we learn from our caregivers. And if we don't understand what that attachment pattern is, then we are bound to repeat them, right? So the only way that we can work on those attachment patterns is if we take that time for ourselves, if we give ourselves space to sit with any kind of feeling, to see what it has to say to us, then we can move forward. As well as like with sitting with feelings, yes, they can feel really, really intense at times. And so it's okay to like avoid them and then distract yourself from them so long as you go back to them, right? Because we want to be able to go back and see like, what is this feeling really trying to tell me? Right now it's too strong. That's okay. Take some time and do something that feels good for you. So if that's like, oh, I just need to be around like my family, I just need to be around my friends, that's fine. And then once you notice like, okay, I think that I'm okay right now to go back and see like, what is underneath this pain? Because sometimes even what's underneath the pain is just, well, wow, maybe I wasn't treated so well, or maybe I could have done this different. So everything like with what Larry was saying is that yes, there's so much insight that's available from those emotions.
And anyone else like to share?
Hello. I really wanted to say that I also want to, what I want to say is I appreciate what Larry has said and what Michelle has said. Very insightful. And I think what we can add to that is, or I would like to add to that is when it comes to like a failed relationship, I know it's easy for us to kind of like, especially through the pain, you want to think about what the other person did to you, say if it was like a toxic relationship. But what we tend to forget is that in order to even unpack, to move on from that relationship, it's not also looking into yourself and realizing like, oh, what can I do better, looking back into, as Michelle said, our attachment styles and things of that sort. But what's most one of the most important things that we also need to think about is with any failed relationship, or even with a relationship, like getting into one or one that does not work out, it always takes two people to start a relationship, and it also takes two people to break the relationship. And so we're not only just thinking about the other person, but we should also think about ourselves too, and see it in that other person and ourselves, like what did we do in the relationship and what can I do better if I put myself in another relationship again.
This is why communication and boundaries are very important.
I'd like to say something. Can you hear me?
Yes. Happy Mila, you're good.
Okay. Yeah. The first, I'd like to share that the most important thing for me that I can tell you is whenever you feel like you're going through such traumatic experience, uh, do not hesitate to seek help. Seek help from a friend, seek help from a neighbor, seek professional help if it is available. Because I learned that the hard way. I went through divorce, and then I had to take care of a family. My daughter was only 16 when she had a child. I just got into, immersed myself into work, but I was suffering and I didn't realize it, that it was really ruining my life and that of my child and my grandson. So I learned the lesson only a little after 5 years after my divorce, that I sought help, and I should have sought help before then, but I was too naive and I was too shy to ask someone. Not even my church knew what was happening. Not even my family knew that I was already divorced and still keeping up with a happy face, because I am the Pollyanna of sorts. But my advice is that seek help. Do not take things to, or do not keep things inside you. Find someone, And like organizations like ours, there are services, there are plenty of resources in the county, there are plenty of resources in the nation that you don't have to reveal all your, dirty linen, as they say it. And it doesn't make you look weak at all. In fact, strength is in finding a way to help yourself. So that is my best advice is seek help, talk to a friend, ask someone to sort things out with you, or if necessary, like I said, there are providers like Dr. Navarro and Michelle, therapists, and other associations that can help. So yeah, I feel so so emotional about this because it brings back memories of my own, and thank God that I found the courage to finally told my doctor I need to talk to someone, and so they sent me to a therapist, and here I am.
Thanks,
So
Dr.
thank you
Mila.
for that.
A lot of wisdom in what you just shared. Thank you so much. Looks like we have a little bit more time to do one more question. So Nico.
Our question's open if you would like to answer it or not. Is, you know, we talked about grief, but let's talk about conflict. How do you resolve differences and conflicts in your relationship? What happens when you can't?
Okay, so I'd like to answer that. So in my current relationship right now, we like to talk a lot. We like to talk a lot. It's something that's enjoyable for us. And so when it comes to resolving conflict, we try our best to talk about it. I know that sounds cliche, but actually just today we were talking about how our relationship dynamic has changed because our communication dynamic has evolved. Before, our way of communicating was it would get bad. It would make us both feel bad because, the other person's angry, the other person feels guilty, the other person might be projecting, the other person might be displacing, things like that. And then um it it left us in tears before, right? But we've learned to kind of figure out how each other likes to be talked to, how each other likes to be loved. And the way we talk now, is we provide each other space to process, to think about, to ruminate. We'll come back, and then we both apologize to each other. And we now see that whenever conflicts arise, we contribute. Both of us contribute to it, and we've learned to say sorry to each other because of that. When conflicts don't resolve, I don't know if I can say that we've ever had a conflict that didn't resolve, right? Because like as long as we can have some time and space to think about it, we are able to know how to tackle. If not go back in time and fix it, at least move on, right? Yeah.
Thank you, Francis.
Larry would like to share something.
Yes. So how I resolve conflict? Well, let me just say I'm a heavyweight lifter. She's small. I just throw her out the window, No, just kidding. So we do talk. We talk, and I think it's very important that we set boundaries, because first of all, communication is very important. But I also made it clear, like, see, here's the thing. There's no bad emotions, right? Anger is a healthy emotion to express. Otherwise, how else can we see injustice, for example, right? I think when there's bad emotion is when you're throwing plates at the wall, you're punching the wall, you're punching me or something like that, right? I think that would be qualified bad emotion. But when it comes to conflict, I tell her this, that we can talk about anything. We can talk about anything. If you want to yell at me, fine, but I'm going to walk away. You know, I'm going to walk away and give you space to calm down, because me personally, I cannot deal with irrational conversations. If I see, she's never done this, okay, you know, but let's just say if she ever like cries and starts yelling at me, I'm just going to stare at her and I'm going to be like, okay, look, you know what? I'm going to go for a walk. I'm going to go for a run. And when you're calmed down, we can talk. You know, because I think it's important that dialogue is there, you know, that we can talk about it, you know, that everything can be talked about. It just comes down to me expressing to her, like, I don't like it when people yell at me, and she doesn't like it when someone completely ignores her a whole day. You know, I think it's important we establish those boundaries. And in terms of a conflict that's not resolved, I don't think we have that too, kind of like similar to Francis, but if I had to say something in particular, it would be just, I don't know. That's hard to say, really. People gain more information, and more information in a relationship changes the relationship. So we'll get, please stand by. I'll leave it at that.
I'd like
Larry,
to
I was thinking about kind of that whole good, like what you just described, kind of that whole good conflict versus bad conflict. You know, bad conflict meaning there's a winner and there's a loser, there's resentment and bitterness, and then the good conflict where, you know, I mean, because we're all different, unique individuals, there are going to be differences, right? So, but if those differences leads to resolution and greater closeness because you overcome that. You know, so I think that that's kind of one of those things. I know when I work with couples in the past, you know, those are some of the discussions that we've had. So, Michelle, you wanted to add something to?
Yeah. So when I was growing up, conflict was something that was just swept under the rug. So it was like I had to figure out how to take care of all of these big feelings on my own. I did a horrible job at first. I can admit that. And I know that like through the process, what I've learned that's helped the most is when I'm trying to resolve conflict, it's more about me addressing my feeling versus saying, well, you did this or you did that. So if I am taking on like my feelings and I'm saying like, well, I'm feeling this way, my husband's way more receptive to hear what I have to say versus if I'm like, you know, you didn't pick up your laundry or you didn't do something like this. So that will help like to disarm the moment. So that way there can be space to be heard on both sides.
Great, thank you. Wow, it's like, I know we're due for a bio break, so great discussion, but we can continue it as far as when we open it up to the community discussion. But we do want to honor people needing a little stretch and bio break, right, Nico? What time?
We're gonna come back for what is 9 plus 5? Someone help me with math, please. Is it 14? It's 14.
14. Yeah.
It's 4:10 now, though.
Okay, so we'll be back at 4:15. And we'll stop the recording here. Just get ready for a community discussion. It will be a really fun time. Thank you for sticking with us, and we'll see you soon.
Or some of us are here if you're not needing a bio break and want to just chat with us too.
Yeah, I need to go check on Electron. So, however y'all want to use this break time.